I shall now introduce our distinguished guest, Mr. Ben Cohen, to the Assembly. The distinguished guest we honour now is a champion. He's a winner. Leicester is a proud rugby city, of course, but whether you're a fan of the game or not, you'll know Ben Cohen, Rugby Union legend, England wing, and a big figure in every sense. Many of our friends and sporting partners at Leicester Tigers will rue to this day the fact that they never quite got to see Ben Cohen in full flow, wearing their colours. Still, they and their supporters recognise a worthy foe, a player who proved a daunting presence when he turned out for Tigers rivals Northampton, for Sale Sharks, and for others. In 2000, Cohen made his England debut against Ireland in the inaugural Six Nations Championship, scoring 2 tries. And then, of course, there's the small matter of winning the World Cup. Ben Cohen was a driving force in the glorious England cohort that sweated blood and strained sinew all the way to glory in 2003. He is the 10th highest point scorer in England rugby history, 3rd behind Rory Underwood and Will Greenwood in the list of all-time England try scorers. But perhaps the measure of a true champion is what he or she does next. What they stand for when the strains, sprains, contusions and fractures have taken their toll on the body and that final whistle has blown on the sporting career. Sic transit gloria mundi. Perhaps the real winners are those who dust down, stand up, shower and change things for the better. They take forward the hard-won lessons, the inspiring qualities and noble gestures of the sporting field and bring them to bear out in the wider world, making other people feel strong, supported, and a part of the team too. After retiring from rugby in 2011, Ben Cohen faced that potentially tricky big second half that's undone many a sporting legend. Unlike most, he had already had his resilience tested away from the sporting arena. He has worked through a tragedy that could have, but did not end his career before it began. At the same time Ben's England dream was becoming real, life became a nightmare. His father Peter was terribly injured while protecting an attack victim at the nightclub Ben's father managed. He died a month later from his head injuries. 3 men were later jailed. Ben now grappled with grief, loss and anger as he and his family tried to recover from this crushing blow and move forward. These testing times gave the young sportsman perspective and the makings of a new cause. On the field, he was even more driven. He said, "From that point on, I was determined to become the best winger in the world and to win the World Cup. I was, if you like, a man on a mission, driven by anger and emotion." Years later, the boots hung up, Ben gathered the strands of his life, glorious and tragic, and created the Ben Cohen Stand-Up Foundation. Its mission to tackle bullying and homophobia and the kind of intimidation and unthinking reaction that had robbed him of his own inspirational father. The foundation was built to be highly collaborative, organisation funded by social business models. Its aim to connect people in the name of understanding and kindness. It would raise awareness of the long-term damaging effects of bullying and also the funds to support people doing real-world work to stop it. Since its launch, the foundation has awarded dozens of grants here and in the US to support its mission and vision of diversity and inclusion. In recent months, work in America has been refined to focus on work within the LGBT Sports Coalition and its ambition to bring about a sporting culture without prejudice and where only ability and prowess are allowed to thrive. Ben became aware of his growing status as a straight gay icon around the time of the World Cup win, a happy surprise that had further informed his sense of mission. He said, "I started to hear the gay community's stories and realised that we're all suffering the same sort of pain and anguish. I was playing a very masculine physical sport, a world champion and arguably the best in the world in my position. It was an exciting prospect to actually make a difference and bridge that gap between gay and straight people. It breaks down stereotypes and it educates." Ben's mission to share and support is his life, a thread that binds it. Clinically deaf, he has 30 to 33% hearing loss in each ear. He has been involved in efforts to make rugby more accessible to the hard of hearing, especially young deaf players. He has also had a hand in developing young rugby players, saying as his life within the game came to a close, "I've learned a hell of a lot about the course of my career from some of the best coaches in the world. You've got to pass some of that experience down." Even the unforgettable ballroom blitz of his Strictly Come Dancing performances was part of this mission, Ben deploying sequins and spangles to serious purpose. He said, "My reasons for taking part was solely to put my foundation out there." Ben Cohen shows us that when you get knocked down, you can still, indeed you must, stand up for what you believe in. He shows us that when we stand up together, we all stand a bit taller. It's something that's at the heart of everything we believe in, stand up for at DMU too. DMU is one of the most diverse and inclusive universities. That is a real sign of strength and source of pride. It's a powerful, positive statement about the things we value. Our sports team have pulled on special DMU Pride emblazoned kit before doing battle, standing up for sport and against homophobia, in a field where still too few are out and proud. Like Ben, we're proud that we actively celebrate all the voices in our community. DMU is a place that recognises and respects individuals and allows everyone to become themselves. The ultimate success is seeing people comfortable in their own skin. They are the ones really equipped and ready to go out and make a difference. That's why we're proud to welcome Ben onto our team today. He's a true champion in every sense. Ben, for your commitment and vision of inclusion of all people, regardless of race, religion, sexuality or background, for standing up against the bullies and the tormentors like a real hero does, and for educating and inspiring, we honour you today.
Ben Cohen, I confer upon you the degree, honorary degree, Doctor of Arts. I congratulate you and welcome you among us.
I call upon Mr. Ben Cohen to address the Assembly.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome, honoured guest and graduands, and congratulations, guys. And I suppose you've listened to and heard a lot of what my journey's been like through rugby, but I want to talk about something that I've had to learn and come to grips with very quickly, and that is the transition from sporting world into working life, and something that these graduands are just about to embark on. I had to reinvent myself, not just in my rugby journey, but during my rugby journey, I have to say that I had many no's. Doors shut on my face saying, "You're not going to make a rugby player, you're not good enough." I begged my headmaster, because I didn't go to a rugby school, because it was an elitist sport then. And I managed to get noticed in the end. And I wasn't a skillful rugby player. I could run fast, I could dodge a few people, and I could catch a ball, but actually my skill set was very, very poor. But I worked bloody hard. And on my transition from rugby life to working life, one of my good friends, a guy called Mark Cuban, he's a self-made man, and he owns a basketball team in America. And he often gets asked this question quite a lot, as well as I ask this question too. How did you become a billionaire? How is it possible? How do you get that amount of money and that success? And he says, "Ben, let me give you a word of advice and a little bit of something that my sort of recipe for success." And he turned around and said, "Ben, It's called working your bloody arse off. And I went, oh, thanks for that. And he goes, and what you're willing to sacrifice. So actually I had a look in actually what it was like when I started rugby, and actually what I sacrificed and what I had, because I wanted to be a rugby player, and little did I actually wanted to be a fireman, but I was better at rugby. So I started that professional journey, and actually I've got better and better and better. And it was through that pain and anger with the loss of my father, was in such a tragic way, made me overachieve massively. And I used that pain and anger, and I redefined myself. And it was another point of my career where actually I had to learn new things and to become a better player. So I was the first in the training, I was the last out of the training. I studied my opposition, what hand they passed off, what foot they kicked off, what shoulder they tackled with, what they're like on the turn, what they're like under the high ball. And those little things were different, and I know that my opposition weren't doing. And before I knew it, I got my Northampton place back, and I got my England place back, and I got on that plane to Australia in 2003. We won the World Cup. And it was a game that changed my life forever. And my uncle George Cohen, won a 1966 Football World Cup. And he was there the evening of the game, and he said, you win this game tomorrow and it will change your life forever. And he was right. He was dead right. And I remember coming back to London, being greeted by over 1 million people down Oxford Street. 40,000 turned up at Heathrow. We had tea with the Queen, tea with the Prime Minister, and I got a speeding ticket on the way home. But they were memorable times. So that transition from rugby life to working life, I had to redefine myself again. I had to get help from people. And help came in the form of a guy called Patrick Davis in America. And he took me under his wing, and I learnt to become a businessman. And I wanted to create this stand-up foundation, this anti-bullying foundation, to outlive me and outlast me. But we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. We wanted to help and support organisations to deliver their real-world work. So that means we give money out. We're a grant-based organisation. So we couldn't compete on any way, shape or form with them. We wanted to be everyone's best friends. How did we support? We set up a social commercial brand. We sold products to help support the cause. So I have a clothing line with Nike over in America called Stand Up and Be True. And what I did was, which we talked about earlier on, is actually create a coalition group to look at fairness, equality in sport, where sport shouldn't discriminate. Everyone deserves the right to be able to play. So that was part of my journey, part of the transition, and setting up over here in the UK as well has been magnificent. The support, the journey that I've been on, the work that we've done with the foundation, help the organisations to support their work, to educate that next generation, to drive a cultural change. So I suppose my bit of advice to you graduands is follow your dream. Anything is possible, and work your bloody nuts off. And good luck. Thank you very much.